Welcome to the Consultants Way podcast, your go-to resource for all things professional services consulting. Brought to you by McMahon & Ransford, a strategy consulting firm with over 30 years of experience helping B2B organizations achieve sustainable growth, and the Consultants Way, the leading comprehensive consultant development program. Hosted by Dean McMahon and Anthony Paluska, we share expert insights, firsthand experiences, and conversations with industry leaders on the topics that interest you most.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of their employer, company, or affiliated organizations.
Welcome to the Consultants Way podcast. Anthony Paluska joined here with Dean McMahon, and today we are lucky to have Munish Khanna joining us. Munish is a VP of Professional Services at Tavant, and has a long experience and history in professional services world. So, Munish, welcome to the show. Please provide the audience with a little bit of a glimpse into your background and your experience.
Sure. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Dean. And thank you for having me on the podcast. So, the Munish Khanna this side, 25 years in the industry, out of which 22 years I've spent in consulting and professional services, providing both business consulting as well as engineering services to pretty much Fortune 100 customers and also in the small and medium business sector. So very excited to be on this podcast and looking forward to talking to you.
With all of that experience, I know that one thing that we've spent some time talking about previously is your passion and your experience building effective team structures. And so I'd like to take that at a high level. Maybe talk us through a little bit more detail on your background and how you built some experience up there and where your expertise on this topic comes from.
Sure, Anthony. So building teams is something has been near and dear to my heart for the last 15, 17 years, I would say. And the last teams that I built was number one at Tata Consultancy Services, North America, wherein I was tasked to build a 2,000 people team. And the idea was to build that 2,000 people team and then scale it to 5,000. That's what I did in the 4 years I spent with that particular department within TCS. And part of the thing that was kind of challenging was the ability to give the team uh, the right challenges, the right roles that are going to emphasize their personalities, their performance, and to ensure that they come through really well as a team. And so to do that, number one was to give them those enablement resources that is going to help them do their job. Number two was defining their roles and responsibilities in a way that there are no conflicts and they are able to work cohesively, complementing each other, on the journey. That was number two. Number three was around their psychological safety as to how secure their roles were, how they can take care of their family while they're working on their roles. So that was number three, and number four was to bring together this team so that they're able to work as a unit. So that was number four. But doing all of that, it took us 4 years. We started at 2,000 people, and I think we were scaling, at a rate of around 20% increment year over year. By the end of the 4 years, we were at 5,000 people, and the team being able to sell, being able to deliver, being able to govern the overall success of our customers in a very efficient fashion and in a consistent fashion. So it was a big success. So that was TCS North America. Same thing I did with Cisco Systems, where I was a head of engineering for digital experience. And I was tasked to build a smaller team, not as big as TCS. TCS is a consulting firm. Cisco, on the other side, as all of us know, it's a dear and near company to us. So Cisco was more on the engineering side. And so I was tasked to build a team of over 150 people to manage all of the engineering for digital experience organization, within Cisco. And what I got was around 80 odd people, which uh, which were from disparate backgrounds. Again, they knew the technology, but they were from different functional backgrounds. So it was again, putting together this structure wherein they can perform consistently. Be motivated as they're performing. Felt enabled, felt safe, and being able to get challenged, with what they were delivering, because at the end of the day your motivation comes from the right challenges that you face on the job. And so I put together that structure, defined their roles and responsibilities, defined the resources and the enablement that they can leverage as they are pursuing the role, defined a hiring strategy, wherein, what are the gaps within the existing team that we need to fill. And then I ended up hiring, leaders from externally as well as internally within Cisco, and then also, resources from internally again, externally as well as externally, putting together this team of over 150 people. So very successful. We did that for the team setup lasted for around an year and a half, and we were considered one of the most successful teams within Cisco. And as of course, within digital experience, but within Cisco at an organization level.
Oh, it's great, and clearly a wealth of experience to bring to this conversation. I want to go back to your first example, right? You had four specific things that you principles, I would say, that you had in place in terms of developing your 2,000 and then scaling that to 5,000. I want to just dive into a couple of those if that's okay with you. The first one is on your second point, which is on roles and responsibility clarity around this. And so important as you look to scale this team, because if people don't know the role that they're supposed to be playing and they don't know where the guardrails are associated with where their decision rights start and stop, especially when the team gets more complex, you run into issues that you can't possibly grow and scale as fast as you needed to at that organization. Take us back to kind of tactically how you built that out with the future state in mind, and knowing that the roles and the responsibilities of the team may need to evolve as you grow and evolve maybe in ways that you can't anticipate. So how did you go about that exercise, and did you refine it along the way? And just walk through that piece of it for me.
See, you have to keep it a little bit open ended. I think you have a valid point. We cannot anticipate the business needs that might surface, from the changing business environment. So that is absolutely there. So one of the things that I always do is uh, educate, guide, mentor my teams to understand that we are there to meet a business need. Whether we are leaders, whether we are resources, it does not matter. We are there to meet a business need, and that's what I educate all of my resources on. Now, the roles and responsibilities, I always make sure that people know what their roles and responsibilities are, because it's kind of a two-edged sword, right? So if they don't know the roles and responsibilities, they won't be able to meet the needs of those roles and responsibilities, and they will end up doing something that is not expected out of them, right? And so definitely you want to secure them, keep them safe there so that they are performing to their roles and responsibilities and being able to meet those business needs that you have been tasked to meet, those needs. Now, number two is around the roles and responsibilities. When you are not, a lot of times what I've seen is, and this is something, when people are not provided the right roles and responsibilities in you'd have to be very specific there. Again, to your point, we have to keep it open ended, wherein people understand that with changing needs, those responsibilities, those roles that they're playing will have to evolve. But at the same time, you want to make sure that people understand their roles and responsibilities well so that they can nurture themselves on those roles and responsibilities. If they are, going from point A to point B on a daily basis, they will not nurture themselves on point A, and they will not nurture themselves at point B. So they're not going to develop their personalities, they're not going to be developing their skill sets, they're not going to be nurtured. And at the end of the day, our goal as leaders is to nurture our teams, to bring their personalities up so that they can play the next level role. So that's the importance of having very defined roles and responsibilities.
You've done this across multiple cultures. How does it differ in different cultures?
Well, I mean, so really, I mean, around roles and responsibilities, Dean, what I have observed, and I have worked across geographies. I have worked in USA, of course. I have worked in India. I have worked in Japan. I have worked with people in EMEA. Right now, I'm working with people in Mexico. Mexico, or near shore is what we call it. Yeah, Mexico. We opened a center very recently, and then previously at TCS also we opened a center in Uruguay. So so there are nearshore resources. At end of the day, we are all same humans. We have the same brains, right? So kind of that nurturing has to come through when you are focusing on something that has been defined for you by your leadership. So that doesn't change. Now what can change is that from a location to location basis, maybe teams at some place will take some more time to kind of ramp up on those roles and responsibilities, while teams on the other place, because of their familiarity with the subject matter, they will get ramped up pretty quickly, right? And it also depends on the experience of individuals. Some people who come with a very good experience, they're able to ramp up really quickly. They will be effective day one. They can actually hit the ground running, right? While others, they need some time to ramp up. They will take a month. Some people even take 6 months. Some people even take a year, right? So depending on that experience and that familiarity with the subject matter, that also kind of shifts and changes.
On that topic of different cultures, I'll go back to your third kind of key foundational principle for building your team, which I'll describe. You use different words, but what I think you were alluding to is right helping them figure out the work-life balance aspect of their role and making sure that they're getting what they need to be fulfilled both professionally and personally throughout the journey. How does that differ in terms of the different cultures and what they expect in terms of a work-life balance? What is and how they define that? Um, can you speak to some of that?
That's a very disparate subject, Anthony. So, from country to country, it can differ. It's based on the rules and regulations within that country, the laws of that country, the HR regulations of that country, right? So, I don't want to take example, but every country has their own laws around how employees feel satisfied, and what do they need from a work life balance standpoint. For example, I'll give one example. Japan, people have to sleep around 30 minutes in the afternoon. It's regulated by the government. So you have to give people time so that they can sleep 30 minutes to 1 hour in the afternoon, and they will typically just sleep under their desk, right? So that's one rule. I think there's one other country I was working with, France or somewhere. You, employees cannot work after 5 p.m. because it's a government regulation. So there is this personal piece of it, which is from a personality standpoint. For example, I might have a personality trait wherein I want to go with my son for a walk in the evening, right? Someone else may not have that personality trait, right? They might want to just go with their children during the weekend, right? So there is one piece of it which is very personality focused, wherein an individual has made a decision that they want to spend so much time with their family, and these are the days or these are times that they want to spend that time. So you have to give them that time. And then you have the government regulations. For example, we talked about two, Japan and I think France or Germany somewhere, wherein they have to disconnect at 5 p.m. or they have to sleep in the afternoon, and it's a government regulated thing. And so you have to provide them that balance wherein they can take out that time, have some rest or whatever that requirement is.
Thanks for that. And yes, I appreciate every culture and local government and norms they're all different, right? And so, but I like how you talk about kind of blending the needs of a culture with the individual needs of a person, and making sure that you're not establishing a one size fits all approach to this is our methodology for how we're doing this, but instead we have an attitude of we are going to care about the work-life balance and the personal side of our team members, and make sure that we're accommodating for that in how we design the structure, design the teams, design our workload. Um, I want to shift gears a little bit because it's a question we get quite often, and no surprise, right? Which is around AI and how you're viewing leveraging AI in professional services. I know many are thinking about it from a delivery efficiency and optimization perspective, and rightfully so. But any thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on how we use this for the topics that you're on, and that you've got this experience on, building and managing teams, and the role AI can play in that either now or in the very near future?
Sure. So when we talk about AI, see, the dependency of AI is data. What kind of data have you kind of acquired, across the history of your company, across the history of, your experience on professional services, right? And so what AI can do is AI can help you analyze that data in a way that, a human brain cannot, because there are just so many parameters, right? And AI can help you evaluate that data and give you, meaningful insights that you can leverage to, maybe provide work life balance to your team, right? Or help them get trained better, or create the right mix of resources within a program, wherein, as I said, it's always complementary, so that they can complement each other and be more successful with on your customer projects, on your internal projects, whatever they're working on, right? So, but in my opinion, of course, delivery efficiency, engineering efficiency, like right now, I can build a website within a day, right, with leveraging AI. Because I don't have to, code from scratch. I can just ask the AI, hey, code this for me, and it will code it for me. And then I just have to do some debugging. The website will be on. So that's the delivery efficiency piece of it. And we have seen significant improvement in productivity leveraging AI on the delivery front, right? I don't want to give it a number, but we have seen significant improvement, and we are passing that on to our customers. So that's super great. Now, that's delivery efficiency. Number two, as I said, is, if you have sufficient data about your projects from the last, like, my company right now, the company I work for, they have been in the industry for 25 years. Now, provided that we have this 25 years data, and we have, the project data, we have the resource data, we have, the skills data, what kind of resources were there, what kind of skills did those resources have, what kind of team structure we adopted for a project. Provided that we have that, we can create an optimal team structure leveraging AI, because now we know which team structure worked, where it worked, how it worked. Now we can, combine that data leveraging AI, and we can say, here's the team structure for the next project that I'm going to work on, right? So that's something that we are actually working on. So that's one. Number two is around the resource reskilling, skilling, reskilling, training, right? How do we nurture our resources so they can play their next level role? Again, provided that we have that data. We had a software developer in the year 2000 who was a Java developer who came from this background, and they turned out to be a great CEO in 25. Right now, we know how can we nurture this resource that is joining us today, so that he can be a CEO in 2050. Right. So that's the kind of enablement that AI can provide us. And same thing, one of the things that we are leveraging AI right now is around scheduling. So so we have we in professional services, we have this constant challenge as to, which resources available when. And when we are doing projects, how do we resource this project? So around resource management, wherein you can provided that you are pitching in a project with the customer, you can easily see which resources will be available. Again, within a particular skill set, we will have resources of varying skill sets. So like I can have a technical architect, I can have a senior technical architect, I can have a principal technical architect, right? So if I am pitching in a project, I want to make sure, based on the complexity of the project, I am pitching in the right level of architect. So that kind of resource allocation, resource planning is again something that AI can enable us with.
I like the way everything you mention has such a personal point of view of the people and such a personal kindness to their development and their success. How did you build culture in these big organizations to support your vision for that?
I think, Dean, I have been lucky. I have been blessed, really, right? So I had full support from my leadership teams around nurturing people. And, as you really caught me, I am a big fan of nurturing people, taking them to the next level of where they are. Because if we do not do that, then we just end up asking them to work for us, right? So I don't want to be that person who is just asking people to work for me, but I want to be that person who is asking people to come work for me because I can take them to the next level, right? And so that's been my psychology, and I have had full support from my leadership teams, both at Cisco, at TCS, and previously. And that support has enabled me to kind of build strategies, to put together frameworks that can help me nurture my team, and that can also help the team members who are self motivated to nurture themselves. So we have had full kind of financial support, kind of resource support, time support. So that's what I have leveraged. But at end of the day, it is all about putting in that effort, Dean, wherein you're putting in a dedicated effort to ensure that your resources are just not doing their work, but they're nurturing themselves and moving to the next level.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Hey, tell us a couple of takeaways. I like also that you've done 5,000 people groups, high impact 100 people groups. Tell us a little, two or three things that we should remember that we can take away from your experience in making these groups successful for all of us.
So few things, as I think professional services leaders, my takeaways, from within my career. Number one, focus on business and work life balance for your resources. So business outcomes are important. They are the they are the they are the prerequisite to anything that you're doing, right? So obviously you want to focus on business outcomes, but that should not leave your resources, welfare, their work life balance in jeopardy. You have to make sure that you're putting in a dedicated effort, to ensure that they're getting nurtured, they have the right work life balance. Um, More than anything, they are challenged at work, they're getting the right assignments, and they're motivated to do what they're doing. Right. Number two is create complementary team structures. Don't So a lot of times what happens is, we're building a architecture team and we bring all architects in, right? What happens is it kind of creates a supplementary power, wherein now you have the same skill set across different resources, and all of them can push in that direction very strongly. But that does not kind of create a diverse, cohesive workforce, because a lot of times they're also beheading each other, right? So you rather want to create complementary skill set, wherein one can fill the gaps of the other, and you're creating a cohesive team structure. So that's number two. And number three, as we talked about, I think, leveraging AI. I think AI is the biggest enabler today, whether it's professional services, whether it's engineering services. AI is the biggest enabler today. If we are not leveraging AI to the best of our advantage, if we are not leveraging the knowledge that we have over the last 25 years, 30 years, 50 years, in some cases, 100 years, if we are not leveraging that, combining that with the power of AI and driving business insights, professional services insights, training insights, resource management insights, we talked about all of these. If we're not doing that, we're not doing justice to our role. So again, I would say, that will be a third kind of a takeaway from my career, Dean, and how it stands today.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. We love having you here. Anthony, did you have any other
Munish,
questions?
we appreciate you being here and joining us today and sharing a lot of your perspectives through your experience in, as Dean said, building the combination of large, fast-growing, and very impactful teams embedded within big product companies, standalone consult. I mean, all of the above. You have a wealth of experience, and it's been very helpful to illustrate the value that, hey, the same core principles that you would apply to one situation you apply to the other, and you tweak those given the specifics of that situation, but you have some very core principles of how to build and manage teams effectively that seems to have served you well, and if any of those lessons can be passed on to our audience, it will serve them well as well. So we appreciate you sharing.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Anthony. Absolutely.
All right, we will have you back, and thanks so much. And everybody, reach out to Manish if you have questions and you want to get to know him. Well, I thought that was great. I thought, and we were just talking about it. He comes across so nice and warm and so considerate. And what I wanted to dive in, and you never have time to do all the things you want to talk about, but I'd like to understand, and I touched on it briefly. In a large, and he's in a very large organization now, and he runs a very big business. How do you get the culture to mirror your empathy and your mentoring points of view and your, I want to understand your life, I want to understand what you want to achieve, your balance? I mean, that's a lot of good caring. And what I want to know is, how do you institutionalize that in a big organization? We didn't have time for that today, but
Yeah, I mean, as we both have seen lots of examples of that where organizations were really effective at embodying the culture and the spirit of their leader, and then you've seen other situations where it does not work quite as well. Any tips or lessons from you after all the different organizations we've seen over the years?
yeah, that's a good question. I find that if you can communicate consistently on a few, some people call them values, but a few truths, that eventually those truths become your organization's truths. You can't, and I've seen people do this, and I know you have. They throw too much at the organization, right? Or they take unnatural stances that won't work in that industry. But I find that, and you and I've worked together a long time. I find if you consistently stress a few things that you really think are the bedrock of your culture, that and then people opt in and out of your company because they like what you stand for, or it doesn't fit them, and those are both okay, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the big piece to that is you also have to live up to those values that you communicate consistently, because as soon as you start to, I think the situation we see most often is you have a very high performer that actually is misaligned with your values and does things that are undermining what you're trying to communicate and instill in the rest of the team. And you hang on to them because they're a good performer. And that fractures the trust and the credibility of those messages that you deliver. And so always just being aware of who you keep and what message that sends about how they're representing you and what you actually stand for versus what say you stand for is really an important thing to always keep in mind.
And I think he talked about the juxtapose of business outcomes and living your values, right? And you and I, we know of, we use a simple two by two that you fit, right? And you're productive and you fit. And that's an easy way to look at it, because if you're highly productive but you don't fit in the culture, you need to do something about it. You need to change, or we need to help you find somewhere where you fit the culture. Or if you're highly in the culture and aren't productive at all, we need to help you move up that scale to a pass fail level at least. Or again, we're not a place for you, right? You're a different kind of beast, and I think you're right. If you disobey your truths in front of your troops time and time again, you don't have any truths.
That's right.
But anyway, great guy. I'd love to have him back. Again, another guy I got to have a chance to share a meal with out on the West Coast. Just super guy.
Great, great. Well, if you enjoyed Munish and the conversation we had with him here today, check out YouTube or the podcast channels, and you could find other episodes of other conversations we've had with seasoned PS leaders and thought leaders across the industry. Also, while you're there, like and subscribe, and you'll get the latest access to our weekly episodes as they're released. You can check Dean and I out on LinkedIn, as well as email us at podcast@consultantsway.com if you have anything you'd like to share or have some suggestions for us. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.